I watched my father lift the spoon to his mouth. The meat in the soup was pale and soft. It did not look like goat meat. It did not look like chicken. It looked like a small finger. I wanted to scream, to knock the bowl from his hand, but fear glued my mouth shut. The stepmother smiled, her eyes shining in the dark kitchen. She watched him chew, and I knew right then that my brother was never coming home. The day started like any other day in our village, but the air felt heavy. The sun was hot, burning the back of my neck as I swept the compound. My younger brother, Emeka, was playing near the mango tree. He was only 7 years old. He was small for his age, with big bright eyes and a laugh that made everyone smile. Everyone except our stepmother, Maneka. Maneka did not like us. Since our mother died 2 years ago, our house had turned from a place of joy to a place of fear. Our father, Papa, was a good man, but he was often away at the farm or the market. He did not see how Emaneka treated us when he was gone. He did not see the pinches, the denied food, or the cold stares she gave us when we laughed too loud. "Adaugo," Emaneka's voice cut through the morning air. It was sharp, like a knife hitting a stone. I dropped my broom and ran to the kitchen hut. "Yes, Emma." She was standing over the fire, her face sweating. She looked angry, which was normal. But today, her eyes looked different. They looked wild. "Take this bucket," she said, pointing to a rusty metal bucket. "Go to the stream and fetch water. Do not come back until it is full to the brim, and take your time. I do not want noise in this compound today." I nodded quickly. "Yes, Emma." I turned to call Emeka to come with me. Usually we went to the stream together. He liked to splash in the shallow water while I washed the clothes or filled the pots. "No," Emaneka said, stepping in front of me. "Emeka stays here. I have a special job for him. He needs to help me grind the pepper for tonight's soup." I looked at Emeka. He was drawing shapes in the sand with a stick. He looked up and smiled at me. He did not know to be afraid. I felt a cold shiver go down my back, even though the sun was hot. "But Emma," I said quietly, "Emeka is small. The grinding stone is heavy. Go," she shouted, raising her hand as if to strike me. "Do not question me in my husband's house." I ran. I grabbed the bucket and ran out of the gate. I looked back once. Emeka was standing up, dusting the sand from his knees. Emaneka was walking towards him. That was the last time I saw him, standing on his 2 feet. The walk to the stream usually took 30 minutes. Today, my legs felt like lead. I walked slowly. The birds were singing in the bushes, but I could not enjoy their song. My heart was beating too fast. Why did she want Emeka alone? She never asked him for help. She usually called him useless. I stayed at the stream for a long time. I washed the bucket. I sat by the water and watched the fish swim. I was afraid to go home. I had a bad feeling in my stomach, the kind you get when a storm is coming. When the sun began to go down, turning the sky orange and red, I knew I had to go back. Papa would be coming home soon. If there was no water for his bath, I would be the one in trouble. I lifted the heavy bucket to my head and walked back to the village. As I got closer to our compound, I smelled something. It was the smell of soup. It smelled rich and spicy, with lots of pepper and onions. It smelled like a feast. We rarely ate rich soup. Usually, Emaneka made watery soup with dry fish and too much salt. But this smell was different. It was thick and heavy in the air. I walked into the compound. It was quiet, too quiet. Emeka, I called out softly. There was no answer. I put the water bucket down near the bathroom and walked to the kitchen. Emaneka was there. She was stirring a very big iron pot. The fire was roaring under it, the flames licking the black sides of the pot. "Good evening, Mama," I said. "I'm back." She did not turn around immediately. She kept stirring. "Good," she said. Her voice was calm now, strange. "Your father will be home soon. Go and wash up." "Where is Emeka?" I asked. I looked around the kitchen. He was not there. She stopped stirring. She tapped the spoon on the edge of the pot. Clang, clang. "He was troublesome," she said. "I sent him to your uncle's house in the next village. He will stay there for a few days to learn how to behave." My uncle's house? That was far away. Who took him? Emaneka did not leave the house. And Emeka could not walk there alone. "But who took him?" I asked. "Stop asking foolish questions," she snapped, turning to face me. Her face was shiny with sweat and oil. There was a smudge of soot on her cheek. "Go and wash. Your father is at the gate." I heard the gate creak open. Papa was home. I ran to greet him. "Welcome, Papa." He looked tired. He carried his farming tools on his shoulder. "Thank you, my daughter. Is the water ready?" "Yes, Papa." "Where is Emeka?" he asked, looking around. "Usually he runs to take my bag." Emaneka came out of the kitchen. She was wiping her hands on her wrapper. She was smiling, a wide, tight smile. "Welcome, my husband," she said. "Emeka was being very naughty today. He broke my clay pot. I sent him to my sister's son, who was passing by. He went to the neighboring village to help with the harvest. He will be back in 2 days." Papa frowned. "You should have told me first, but if he was being bad, maybe he needs the discipline." I wanted to speak. I wanted to say that Emaneka's sister's son had not visited us in a year. I wanted to say Emeka never broke things on purpose, but Emaneka's eyes bored into me. They were cold and hard. "Keep quiet," they said. Papa went to bathe. I sat on the small stool outside the kitchen. My heart was pounding. The smell of the soup was making me sick. It was too sweet, too strong. Soon Papa came out, wearing a clean shirt. He sat on his favorite wooden chair in the parlor. Emaneka brought the food. It was a large mound of pounded yam and a big bowl of the soup. The steam rose from the soup. It was red and oily. There were large chunks of meat in it. "This looks special," Papa said, washing his hands in the bowl I held for him. "What is the occasion?" "No occasion," Emaneka said, sitting opposite him. "I just wanted to cook something nice for my hard-working husband. I bought some special meat from the hunter who passed by." Papa smiled. He was hungry. He cut a piece of yam, dipped it deep into the soup, and scooped up a piece of meat. I sat in the corner, on the floor. My own plate was empty. Emaneka said I would eat later. I watched Papa. The lamp cast long shadows on the wall. The shadows looked like they were dancing. Papa put the food in his mouth. He chewed. He said. "This meat is very tender, very soft. It tastes different, sweet." Emaneka watched him. She did not blink. "Yes," she said softly. "Very tender." My stomach turned over. I looked at the soup bowl. The pieces of meat bobbed in the red oil. They were pale. Papa reached for another piece. He lifted it up. It was a long piece with a joint in the middle. I stared at it. It looked like a finger, a small child's finger. I gasped. The sound was loud in the quiet room. Papa looked at me. "What is it, Adaugo?" Emaneka turned her head slowly to look at me. Her eyes dared me to speak. "Nothing, Papa," I whispered. I I just bit my tongue. Papa shrugged and put the meat in his mouth. He chewed. I felt tears burn my eyes. I looked at the dark corner of the room. I thought I saw something. A small shadow. It looked like a mecha, standing there, watching Papa eat. The wind blew outside, whistling through the cracks in the window. It sounded like a child crying. Eat? My husband, Emma Neka said. Finish it all? Do not waste the meat. Papa ate, and with every swallow, the room felt colder, and the silence felt louder. I hugged my knees to my chest, praying that what I was thinking was a lie. But deep down in the pit of my belly, I knew. The house was empty of my brother, but the pot was full. Papa finished the last piece of meat. He licked his fingers. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and let out a long, deep burp. But it was not a happy burp. It sounded wet and heavy. That was heavy, Papa said. He rubbed his big stomach. He frowned. My belly feels tight, like I swallowed a stone. Emma Neka stood up quickly. She grabbed his empty bowl. It is good food, my husband. Heavy food for a strong man. Go and rest. I will clean up. She looked at me. Her eyes were like slits in the darkness. Adaugo, take the water pot to the back. Do not touch the soup pot. Do not touch the plates. I will wash them myself tonight. This was very strange. Emma Neka never washed plates. She said it was work for children. She said she did not want to ruin her fingernails. Why did she want to wash the plates today? Why was she hiding the pots from me? Yes, Mama, I said. I stood up. My legs were shaking. I walked to the door, but I stopped in the shadows. I wanted to see what she would do. Papa stood up slowly. He groaned. He held onto the chair to steady himself. I am going to lie down, he said. My head is spinning. He walked to his room, his feet dragging on the floor. Emma Neka watched him go. As soon as his door closed, she moved fast. She gathered all the bones from Papa's plate. She did not throw them to the dogs like we usually did. She picked them up carefully, one by one. She looked around the room to make sure no one was watching. She did not know I was peeking from the dark corner near the exit. She took an old, cracked calabash from the shelf. A calabash is a dried gourd we use as a bowl or container. This one had a lid. She put the bones inside the calabash. Then she took the big spoon and scraped the bottom of the soup pot. She poured the rest of the thick red sauce into the calabash too. She covered it tight. Then she took a piece of red cloth and tied it around the calabash. She tied it hard, making 3 knots. Why was she wrapping leftover bones like they were gold? Adaugo, she screamed suddenly. I jumped. I am here, Emma. I stepped out from the shadow quickly. Pretending I was just coming back in. She glared at me. I told you to go to the back. Why are you still here? I forgot the lamp, I lied. Go to bed, she hissed. If I hear a sound from you, you will sleep outside with the goats. I ran to my room. My room was small, just a mat on the floor near the kitchen store. I lay down, but I could not close my eyes. My heart was beating like a drum. Boom, 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 boom. The house became quiet, but it was not a peaceful quiet. The air felt thick. Outside, the crickets were chirping, but inside there was a strange sound. It was coming from Papa's room. Groan. Papa was in pain. I crept to the door of my room. I opened it just a crack. The moon was shining through the window in the parlor. I could see the kitchen door. Emma Neka came out of her room. She was holding the calabash, the one with the red cloth. She looked left and right. She did not wear her slippers. She walked on her toes, silent like a cat. She opened the back door and went into the backyard. I had to follow her. I knew it was dangerous. If she caught me, she might kill me too. But I had to know. I waited for 10 seconds. Then I followed. The ground outside was cold. The night air made me shiver. I saw Emma Neka near the banana trees at the far end of the compound. She was digging. She had a small hoe in her hand. Chop, scoop, chop, scoop. She put the calabash in the hole and covered it with sand. She stomped on the ground to make it flat. Then she placed a heavy stone on top of it. She stood there for a moment, whispering something I could not hear. Then she turned and walked back to the house. I hid behind the water tank until she went inside and locked the door. I was alone in the dark. I looked at the stone near the banana tree. I wanted to run there and dig it up. I wanted to see the bones. But I was too scared. Suddenly I heard a sound. It was a small, high-pitched sound. It was coming from the ground, from under the stone. A doggo, a doggo. I covered my mouth to stop a scream. It sounded like a mecha, but a mecha he was gone. Tell Papa, tell Papa. The voice was faint, like a whisper in the wind. I rubbed my eyes. Was I dreaming? I took a step closer to the stone. My head is hot. The pot was hot. Tears rolled down my face. It was true. My spirit knew it, and now my ears heard it. Emma Neka had cooked my brother, and now his spirit was trapped in that calabash under the dirt. I ran back to the house. The back door was locked. I had to climb through the small window in the pantry. I scraped my knee, but I didn't care. I crawled onto my mat and pulled my old blanket over my head. I shook and shook. Morning came too slow. When the sun came up, the house was already awake, but it was chaos. My stomach is on fire. It was Papa screaming. I ran to the parlor. Papa was rolling on the floor. His skin was gray. He was sweating buckets. He held his belly with both hands. Mama, Papa is sick, I shouted. Amma Neka came running from the kitchen. She did not look worried. She looked annoyed. She held a cup of green bitter water. Drink this, my husband, she said. It is just indigestion. You ate too fast. Papa knocked the cup away. No, it is not food. It feels like something is clawing me from inside. It feels like fingers scratching my stomach. My blood went cold. Fingers. You are talking nonsense, Emma Neka snapped. You have a fever. Adaugo, clean this mess up. I will go and get the herbalist from the market. No, Papa yelled. Do not go. Stay here. Help me up. Amma Neka tried to pull him up, but he was too heavy. He fell back down. He looked at me. His eyes were wide with fear. Adaugo, he wheezed. The soup. What was in the soup? Amma Neka turned to me fast. Her eyes were warning me. If you speak, you die. It was meat, Papa, I stuttered. Just meat. Papa closed his eyes. He groaned in pain. Amma Neka grabbed her head tie. I am going to the herbalist. Adaugo, stay here. Do not give him water. Do not give him food. Just fan him. She rushed out of the door. I was alone with Papa. He was moaning softly now. The house was quiet again. Then I heard it again. Adaugo. It wasn't coming from outside this time. It was coming from the kitchen, but Maneka buried the calabash outside. Why was the sound coming from the kitchen? I walked to the kitchen. The big iron pot, the one she used to cook the soup, was sitting in the corner. It was washed clean, but the lid was rattling, clatter, clatter. The heavy iron lid was jumping up and down just a little bit, like something was inside trying to get out. I walked closer. My hand reached out. The metal was cold. I lifted the lid. The pot was empty, clean and black. But the voice came out of the empty pot, loud and clear, echoing off the metal sides. She buried my bones, but she forgot my tooth. She forgot my tooth in the pot. I looked closer. Stuck in a small crack at the bottom of the pot, covered in a bit of black soot, was a small white object. It was a tooth, a small milk tooth. One of Emika's front teeth was loose yesterday. It must have fallen out when she put him in. I picked up the tiny tooth. It felt hot in my hand. "Adaugo," Papa was calling me from the parlor. "Adaugo, come here." I ran back to him, holding the tooth tight in my fist. "Papa." He was sitting up now, leaning against the wall. He looked at my hand. He looked at my face. He saw the tears. "Why are you crying?" he asked. His voice was weak, but his mind was clearing. The pain was making him see things clearly. "Where is your brother? Tell me the truth. Do not lie to me." I opened my hand. I showed him the small white tooth. "Mama Neka told you he went to the next village," I whispered. "But the meat you ate, it was soft. It was sweet." Papa stared at the tooth. He recognized it. He knew Emeka had a loose tooth. He had wiggled it himself just 2 days ago. Papa's face changed. The gray sickness turned into something else. It turned into a terrible, dark anger. He looked at his stomach, then at the door where Emma Neka had gone. "She cooked him," Papa whispered. The words hung in the air like smoke. "She served me my own son." Just then, the front gate creaked. Emma Neka was back. Emma Neka walked into the parlor. She was out of breath. She did not have the herbalist with her. She had a bundle of leaves in her hand. The herbalist was not at home. She lied. Her voice was too loud. "But I found these leaves. They are good for stomach pain." She stopped. She looked at Papa. She looked at me. The room was silent. The air felt like it was charged with lightning. Papa was not rolling on the floor anymore. He was sitting up, leaning against the wall. His face was covered in sweat, but his eyes were clear. They were red and burning like coals. "Where is my son?" Papa asked. His voice was low, like the growl of a dog before it bites. Emma Neka stepped back. She dropped the leaves. "My husband, I told you, he is at the next village. Why do you ask me this again?" Papa held up his hand. He opened his fist slowly. The small white tooth sat in his palm. It looked bright in the dim room. "This is Emeka's tooth," Papa said. "I pulled it myself. It was in the soup pot, the pot you washed, the pot you cooked the meat in." Emma Neka's face turned the color of ashes. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her eyes darted to the door, then to me. "She is lying," Emma Neka screamed suddenly, pointing a shaking finger at me. "Adaugo is a witch. She put it there. She wants to spoil my name. She is jealous because I cook for you." "Quiet," Papa roared. He tried to stand up. His legs were weak, shaking under his weight. He groaned, clutching his stomach, but he forced himself up. He grabbed the heavy walking stick he used for farming. "If he is in the next village," Papa said, breathing hard, "we will go there tomorrow, but first we will look in the backyard. Adaugo says she saw you digging near the banana trees last night." Emma Neka's eyes went wide. She backed away until her back hit the door frame. "No, you are sick. You need to rest. It was just rubbish. I was burying rubbish." "Since when do we bury rubbish at midnight?" Papa asked. He took a step forward. "Move." Emma Neka did not move. She stood frozen. Suddenly, a loud sound came from the backyard. It was a crack, like a tree branch snapping, but there was no wind. Then a low hum began. It was a vibration that we could feel in our feet. What is that? Papa asked. It is the wind, Amaneka shouted. She was sweating now. Just the wind. But it was not the wind. The sound grew louder. It changed. It became a voice, a collection of voices. It sounded like the earth itself was groaning. I ran to the back door and threw it open. Come and see, I yelled. Papa pushed past Amaneka. She tried to grab his arm, but he shoved her away. She fell to the floor, wailing. We went outside. The sun was high now, shining bright on the compound. The ground near the banana tree was moving. The heavy stone Amaneka had placed there was shaking. It bounced, thud, 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 against the earth. The sand around it was shifting, cracking open like a spider web. My chi, Papa whispered. He leaned on his stick, his eyes filled with horror. Suddenly, the stone rolled away on its own. The loose earth exploded upwards, like something pushed it from below. The calabash shot out of the hole. It did not just sit there. It rolled. It rolled across the yard, stopping right at Papa's feet. The red cloth was still tied around it, but the knots were unraveling. Amaneka had crawled to the doorway. She saw the calabash. She screamed, a long piercing sound that made the birds fly out of the trees. It is not me, it is the devil, she cried. Papa looked at the calabash. He looked at the woman he had married. He raised his stick, and with one heavy blow, he smashed the calabash open. The gourd broke into pieces. The soup spilled out. It was black now, not red, and in the mess of the black soup lay the bones, small white bones, ribs like tiny curved sticks, and the skull. It was small, too small. Papa fell to his knees. He did not scream. He made a sound that was worse than a scream. It was a sound of a man's soul breaking. He scooped up the dirt and poured it over his head. He wailed, "My son, oh my son, I have eaten my own blood." The neighbors heard the noise. They came running. Mama Chinedu from next door, Old Pa Ibi, and the young men from the farm. They rushed into the compound. They saw Papa on the ground with the bones. They saw the black soup. They smelled the evil smell that rose from it. Then they saw Mama Neka. She was trying to run. She was climbing the low fence at the back of the house. "Catch her!" a Daugo screamed. She killed him. She killed Emeka. The young men were fast. They grabbed her by her legs and pulled her down. She kicked and bit, foaming at the mouth like a mad dog. "He was tasty," she laughed suddenly. Her voice changed. It sounded broken and crazy. "He was sweet. I wanted to taste him. I wanted his father to taste him." The villagers gasped. Mama Chinedu covered her mouth and turned away to vomit. "Abomination!" Old Paibe shouted. "This is an abomination in the land." They tied her hands and feet with thick ropes. They dragged her to the center of the compound. Papa stood up. He wiped the dirt from his face, but the tears did not stop. He looked at Amaneka. There was no love left in his eyes, only cold, empty darkness. "You will not die quickly," Papa said softly. "That is too easy." The elders gathered. In our village, there are crimes that the police handle, and there are crimes that the land handles. This was a crime against the earth. "Take her to the evil forest," Old Paibe commanded. "Bind her to the Iroko tree. Let the spirits of the ancestors judge her. Let the ants and the vultures feast on the flesh that cooked a child." Amaneka screamed as they dragged her away. She begged, she cursed, she called my mother's name, but no one listened. The women swept the dust behind her feet to sweep her bad luck away from the village. Papa picked up the small bones gently. He wrapped them in his best white cloth. He buried them again, not in the backyard, but in the front of the house, where a son should be buried. He planted a young palm tree on top of the grave. The house was quiet after that, but it was a lonely quiet. Papa never ate meat again. He became thin and gray. He spent his days sitting by the palm tree, talking to the wind. I took care of him. I cooked his yams and washed his clothes. But we never spoke of that night. We never spoke of the soup. Sometimes when the wind blows through the palm leaves, I hear a sound. It is not a sad sound anymore. It is a light, happy sound. Like a small boy laughing. I know it is Amika. He is not in the pot. He is not in the calabash. He is free. But I still look at every pot of soup with fear. And I never, ever let anyone cook for me again.